full of times, and right to his outside will be the number 82 of Cole Williams. He starts in second.
Row number 2 sees PJ Merrill in the 061 car starting on the bottom, and to his outside, Dylan Basin in the 08 car will round out row number 2.
Back to row number 3, defending champion Blaze McKinney will start tonight from the 5th position. Right alongside him, the number 92 put up some consistent finishes. He's sitting in the top 10 in the point standings. Riley Marabello in the 92.
Row number 3 has Aiden Kirker, or row number 4, I should say, Aiden Kirker on the bottom, starting in the 7th position at 39 E-Media Racing throwback. To his outside, Brody Garner in that 55 car rounds out row number 4.
Back to row number 5, we'll look to the rest of this field throughout. Peter Kenny makes his return to the series along with Mason Thompson. They're in the top 10. Shane DiMantova, who's also in that top 10 point standings. He's sitting in 11th. Aiden B. Murray, one of those drivers on the outside looking in. Jonathan T. Jones against one of those drivers. Latham Joyner, Aaron Tribble, Joe Berge, Dylan Basin, Preston Cope, and a bunch of other drivers finding their way onto the grid as they are all lined up behind that number 95 of Parker White. So the pace car will find its way, and it'll start its way around the 1.366 mile racetrack, and will be going green for the 8th race of the season in the iRacing Bundren Lawn Care Series in Season 3. I mentioned those points just a handful of times. Charlie will bring them up in the middle of your screen. This is where Aiden Kirker stands at his tallest, and he's been up there ever since the drop of the green flag, pretty much at Daytona, pretty much after that when Bridger Olsen won that race and everything kind of shuffled out through most of the short tracks and such. Aiden Kirker currently is your points leader, but not by much though. Blaze McKinney is sitting just 9 points behind. That seems to be a really good battle up there, but look at third on back here, Charlie. Third with Parker White, 52 points behind. And then look at this three-way battle for fourth. Bundren, Jones, and Williams all tied, minus 54 points to Aiden Kirker. And then Shane Mantova, Nick Miller, Brady Weileman, and Riley Marabello not really too far behind.
Yeah, it's really gonna be it's really a fight for the 4th position right now, and it's gonna be important once we dip into the playoffs, because all the standings in the playoffs are separated by 5 points. Each driver, as they enter the playoffs, is separated by 5 points. So it's really important to fight for every position, even if you're safe in the playoff bubble, because you can get that 5-point advantage, and it can really help you later on. If, maybe there's a track in the playoffs that you don't have too much experience at, and you have a bit of a cushion.
So it'll be Parker White and Cole Williams to line up this front row here from the Darlington Raceway as we continue to inch very closely to these iRacing Bundren Lawn Care Series playoffs. We'll find out who gets in, who comes out, and who will take the victory at the track Too Tough to Tame. Pace car rolls off down a pit road. It'll be the 2 Toyota Camrys and 2 throwbacks indeed of White and Williams. Green flag is out. We are racing from Darlington.
A lot of guys you see on the restart spin their tires. That's because in the iRacing service, they did mimic real life in bringing the 750 horsepower package to Darlington Raceway, and that really brings a whole lot of power and a whole lot of more skill that's needed in order to get around this racetrack.
Well, Parker White has found his way around the racetrack in the race lead, and already has crept up to just a little bit of a gap, about 2/10 to Cole Williams in second. Defending champion Blaze McKinney to third, as Williams had tagged the outside wall. But another thing we're going to be seeing here, Charlie, throughout the night is McKinney looks over for the second spot in turn number 3. Look at all the different colors we're seeing on the cars here tonight. This is, of course, Throwback Weekend. Darlington Raceway, obviously traditionally known for the Throwback Weekend in real-life NASCAR, but here in the Bundren Lawn Care Series, we continue that tradition. We did it last season, and now you can see a bunch of the colors and a beautiful throwback scene here with the amount of field as Parker White has already got up to almost just a second off turn 4.
Yeah, one of the more picturesque races on the schedule with all these beautiful, beautiful throwbacks. And, it's really a cool tradition once you come here and really expected to show up in a throwback. And so we definitely thank all the drivers for putting in a little effort in doing that. It looks very, very amazing.
It seems as though everybody's second on back in this little group. Here's in the midst of it all. That's the number 054 of Mason Thompson. Right behind the number 55 of Brody Garner. Somebody did ask who had that Danica Patrick throwback, and it indeed is the number 55 of Brody Garner. He gets around Riley Marabello, who just struck the outside wall. That's also something in topic conversation, but they've been sliding up to the outside, and it seems as though Marabella with damage. He's going to lose another spot to Nick Miller. Almost another one to Mason Thompson. Boy, that could have been large between those two.
And you saw just a lap ago, Riley Marabella hit the wall off of turn 2 pretty good, and that's really going to affect his aerodynamics. But the two eMedia Racing teammates currently sitting 3rd and 4th. That's Aiden Kirker and Cole Williams, both sporting their respective throwbacks. But these guys know each other pretty well. They've been practicing pretty much all week together, and they've come pretty prepared as they're running inside the top 5.
On board with the number 82 of Cole Williams as he defends for 3rd. Right there behind him, the number 39 is Aiden Kirker. You can recognize some of the colors there on that machine. I have a throwback over to one of the older Carl Edwards paint schemes where he had one of those sponsors there. It seems as though he obviously replaced it with Bundren Lawn Care and iMedia Racing, but of course a beautiful sense of colors there. The number 39, he's been sporting that, are obviously right in front of him. They're both best friends. Cole Williams sporting a Casey Kane throwback here, as we actually have 2 Casey Kane throwbacks and 2 Carl Edwards throwbacks as well. We have another one further back in this field, and of course it stands to Glenn Bundren Jr., league owner himself, sporting the Subway colors that Carl Edwards once adorned in back in 2014. I remember, I believe one of his wins in that scheme was at Phoenix in that respective year. He's running that scheme. There's a battle up a little bit ahead between a couple of drivers. Hard a couple of drivers getting the wall. That's Mason Thompson up ahead, but again he saves it to the bottom of the racetrack. And he's been struggling over the past couple of runs. He's going to let these guys by.
Oh, yeah, he's been very, very loose off of the corners. I've been watching him the last couple of laps, and he's struggling with that race car, struggling to hide downforce. Loose once again. Going to save it, keep it on the apron, and keep it out of the driver's way. So Mason Thompson, that 054, struggling on lap number 8.
Got a question by Alexander Schumacher right here on lap number 9. He asks, your favorite throwback? Well, I've already mentioned a couple. And I'll get to yours first, Charlie, before I say mine. But I know there's a lot of great colors out here, lots of beautiful schemes. Some of them have already adorned them in other leagues. Some of them have already revealed them in past times. Which one seems to be your favorite or the most colorful that stands out to you tonight?
I am definitely going to have to go with the 95 of Parker White, sporting that Delta Airlines throwback. Beautiful, beautiful paint scheme. And yeah, it's yeah.
One of those sporting, not really a NASCAR throwback per se, but it is a throwback to the sponsor who's right there, on the bumper and the hood at least, and the quarter panels there. Delta Airlines, obviously sort of an older chrome look to that machine. I believe it's sort of a testament to what they used to run, or what the planes used to look like, the liveries they used to have on their machines at Delta Airlines. So that's one of the gorgeous schemes, and of course one that shines over in the sunset that you can see as he's barreling into turn 1. I think if I'm going with my favorite, I'm going with the one I already mentioned a little bit earlier, that Carl Edwards throwback, just captivating, the number 37 of Glenn Bundren. Just beautiful colors, and obviously when I talked to Glenn and Blaze, who designed the scheme for Glenn before this race, he said it fit the Bundren colors perfectly as well. So that was also a very fitting thing for the 37, just to have that throwback of Carl Edwards and also just having it mix in with the Bundren colors itself. And you can kind of see it there on the quarter panel there on the left and right side. It says Bundren, but in the Subway font. However, it has been a struggle for Bundren so far. 16th right now, and about 12 seconds away from the guys up in front.
And you see that's Cole Williams looking to the inside of Blaze McKinney. This is a tight corner right here, and it's really, really tough to go side by side and make it all the way around. It looks like Cole Williams did back off, and he's going to save his run for another corner. But right behind them, it looks to be Brody Garner, who is closing in on the 39 of Aiden Kirker.
The Aiden Kirker there has fallen back from these two in 2nd and 3rd, as Garner will look over to 5th place, and he's been kind of on that mission ever since the drop of the green flag. So he's now trying to look over to the 39, trying to get back into the top 4. Remember, Brody Garner is one of those drivers that needs a good amount of points to get into these playoffs. Not sure whether these two races will be enough in terms of whether he can actually make it in points realistically, but we need a huge stack of points in order to find his way and compete for a title. Really, some of the drivers that we talked about, and one of the ones we mentioned at the top of the show, Charlie, was Cole Woody, who's currently sitting in 16th. We talked about PJ Merrill. He's sitting 13th right now. I believe Aiden Murray was also in chance. There's Jonathan Jones, though, into the inside wall right in the middle of the track. First caution out on lap number 14 of 125. The Kevin Harvick throwback certainly wrinkled there in the inside wall after this one.
That'll bring out our first caution on lap number 14. We're going to take a look and see what happened here. That's Preston Cope in the 24 car right behind him. And turn 2 is really, really tight there. And yeah, it looks like he just got into the wall, got backed up into the nose of the 24, and got sent towards the inside wall.
You're right on board with Jonathan Jones. There was the contact to Preston Cope and then went straight head on into the inside barrier. Really, that's a really tough corner there, Charlie. I mean, you're looking at the banking there. You have to keep so much momentum. Obviously, you see driver slide to the track, and you saw Jones hitting the outside wall there in the middle of the corner, and then really had nowhere to go, just washed up to the outside wall off of the exit, and then Preston really had nowhere to go, couldn't really check up in time, and then all of a sudden, the Ford just gets sent over to the inside, hard contact, and his race might surely be over. He's already down pit road, and meanwhile, everyone's down pit road, so Parker White will lead this field to get their service.
Yeah, 16 laps is enough to wear down your tires quite a bit, to the point where if someone were to get fresh tires, they would just blow right by you. So a lot of guys taking it easy, getting some fresh 4 Goodyear tires, and we're going to see who wins the race off of pit run. Rival are interested to see who wins the race off of second. You see Blaze McKinney losing a lot of spots there, but Parker White will win the race.
Very interesting show out here. Off the exit of pit road, Kirker to second, Nick Miller and Shaney Mantoba to third and fourth. William Schmidt, who I believe who stayed out, so he'll at least capture P5. Williams, Aaron Tribble out of pit road. I'm not sure where McKinney stacks up in all of this. He's behind Brody Garner near the latter half of the top 10, so it's been a slow pit stop for both the 55 and the 87. So that's going to be interesting to see how they work out. Cole Williams also had a relatively slow one. He was sitting about third on the racetrack prior to this yellow flag. So at least he's going to have to gain some positions over D. Mantova, Miller, and Kirker in order to get back up to this top 3, or at least try to have a shot once again at the race lead here tonight from Darlington. Just a reminder that if you want to join the conversation with us up in the booth, you can do so by using hashtag AskKBRN. You can put your question followed by that hashtag and ask anything about this race, about the series, about our broadcasting services, and more. You can obviously put that over to the YouTube chat with your question and hashtag AskKBRN for anything you want to ask. Obviously, I got another one by Alexander Schumacher. Apart from him asking what our favorite throwback was, he asks, what strategies could we see today? Obviously, Darlington, Charlie, is a very strategical track, and most. Obviously, we see green flag runs have been spilled in through here. I think this track has seen the best of both worlds. Has seen a lot of yellows, but has also seen a good amount of green flag strategy. In terms of this race, though, and the amount of people we see here tonight, is there some sort of strategy to look forward to, or what kind of strategy should we expect to see coming into the rest of this event?
I think we can definitely see a long green flag run, and that can really pull in some pit strategy. You know, a couple guys can short pit. I mentioned this pretty much every race about short pitting, but, you know, if we do get that long green flag run, which is looking pretty positive, you know, last season, Hunter Johnson led a majority of the race under those green flag laps in an extensive green flag run. So I think that if anyone has anything for Parker White during this race, as he is already under the green flag last, pulled a couple tenths in front, or pulled a couple seconds in front of the second place car. I think if we get to that point where we get to green flag stops, there can definitely be some strategy pulled.
Yeah, that'll all be found out once we indeed slip into a green flag run. However, we've yet to see that. Obviously saw that replay with Jonathan T. Jones, who got sent to the inside wall, got ricocheted back onto the track. That, of course, was our first yellow on lap 16, and we'll be sure to get the green flag right here on lap number 19 with a different look on the front row. It was Cole Williams on the outside in the initial start. This time it'll be Aiden Kirker in the 39 who found his way to second on that pitch strategy. Second row will look awfully different. Obviously it'll be Nick Miller and Shane Mantovo rounding out 2 Camaros in row number 2, with Aaron Tribble finding his way to the top 5 and Cole Williams starting right underneath him in row number 3. Garner and McKinney back to row number 4. They have a little work to do. However, should be a good amount to see as we go into this next restart. Very early start, though, for Parker White. He's up and away, and we are back under green from Darlington.
Looking to the inside for the second position, that's Nick Miller. Starting in the 4th position. He's loose on the apron. Saves it, though, but that's going to cost him a lot of spots.
Oh, and those fresh tires, just not enough to keep the car straight. Luckily, though, he did save it. Kirker also had a moment, but they both kept it together. Kirker, though, holding up this long line of cars, starting with Cole Williams. and Shani Mantova trying to look to the inside in turn 3. But again, just like that initial start, it's been white at the head and white not looking back.
A couple of guys back there trying to make up what they lost, such as Blazing Kitty, who's currently back in the 8th position right now, trying to get back into the top 5. But there's also Shane DiMantova trying to defend his position after a bit of pit strategy there and getting a fast pit stop that put him inside the top 5. So it's really, that pit stop really shook up.
And it gave the opportunity for a lot of drivers who were sitting further back in this field to have a shot. Shane DiMantova sitting a little bit further back in the top 10. He's sitting 4th right now. PJ Merrill, who has that shot at getting into the top 10. He is also sitting in the 6th position right in front of your defending champion. So he is definitely on the move with a pit strategy. And now could try to defend from the 87 as he's been trying to get up to the back bumper. They're staying single file for the most part. Not much going on, but here comes DiMantova trying to look to the inside of Cole Williams. He'll try the next time by.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see people like Shane who are trying to set up their passes at a track like this where, you know, places off of turn 2 are just so tight and you can just barely squeeze too wide there. As you saw, you know, even Jonathan T. Jones, who got into that outside wall there, that shows how tight it is and how less of a room for error there is really on any other corner on the racetrack. So Shane DiMantova trying to find that speed and trying to get by Cole Williams in the 82.
And everybody's single file for the most part. And pretty much last season, Charlie, when we looked over at the race at Darlington, I believe it was a little shorter. I believe it was about 120 laps. As we have a caution now, lap number 23. We'll see who this involves. And it's a rather large wreck between William Schmidt and Cole Woody. Schmidt stayed out on that recent stop. He's now with heavy damage to the front end, as well as Cole Woody, who entered, as you see in his number 17 Viagra car, throwing all the way back to Mark Martin in some of the days in NASCAR. William Schmidt with a CrashClaims.us car. As you see, Parker White gets around. We'll take a replay. We'll see exactly where this all began and where this stemmed from. And it started down the front straightaway. And we'll just take a look at it once more. As you see, Schmidt, a couple guys got into the inside wall. Started with Marabello, who was up there as well. He chased it down the track, got into Woody, and then Woody coming off the outside wall. Look at that miss there by Mitch Hobbs straight through the middle. And they both get into contact. We'll take a look at this from the aerial shot. This is from William Schmidt. See, right up ahead, the 92 gets into the wall, and then after this point, 17 gets tagged, and then really nowhere for the 79 to go.
Yeah, Riley just unfortunately got caught up on that outside wall, and once you're in it, it's very hard to get out. But once you get out, it's almost like you jump right out of it, and it unfortunately collects a few more cars, one of which being Cole Woody, who needs some points to break into the top 10 tonight. We got the onboard with Mitch Hobbs just barely avoiding this wreck.
Watch this move as the 79 went straight down the track, split it through the middle. I don't even think he used the brake pedal there, Charlie. Just and lifting off the throttle a little bit, just I believe knew that he was able to get by in time. Mitch Hobbs will survive. Everybody will be down pit road. Seems as though the leaders will find their way in, but Glenn Bundren will make the decision to stay out. So shortly after our first pit stop on lap number 17, everybody pits once again, and Parker White will lead them out, but Bundren will be the one on some of the fresh rubber, at least maybe a little bit used. But at least in this one, Charlie, I know there's no tire set, so there's no limit in terms of that. You can theoretically pit every single lap, and you still have tires left to spare by the end of this event. Obviously, there's no strategy regarding that specifically, as you see Bundren now going down pit road since he's second guess, as everyone has those fresh tires. How big of a benefit will this be, or how much will it change the dynamic of this race? Because when you have tire sets, you know there's limits. You know you have to use it at a certain time, and you really kind of have to pick and choose where you do it, as opposed to unlimited tire sets where you can pretty much just pit and get tires anytime by. You won't have to worry about that. How much will that change the way this race turns out in its perspective, at least?
I think it really throws the strategic part into the driver's hands and in terms of saving tires. And I think that's really going to highlight some of those drivers who have a lot more experience, or at least know how to take care of their cars better in saving those tires, because, you know, you can't pit every yellow if you have those tire sets and you can't get a fresh set. You can't rely on it every single time you catch a yellow, even if it's just a few laps or even an extensive period, depending on how many tire sets you have. So it's really going to bring a lot of strategy into it, and it's going to highlight some I can already guess who is going to shine through. People such as Parker White, Cole Williams, Blaze McKinney. Those guys are going to be really going to be shining through once we get to those tire sets.
Yeah, Parker White so far has led every single lap. He's been dominating. I'd say he probably led every single lap apart from the pit strategy where obviously Bundren had stayed out. That's probably one extra lap that Parker did not lead, of course, because he was down pit lane with the rest of this field. But he's been dominant so far tonight. And Charlie, obviously last season at Darlington, we had sort of the same performance in the case of Hunter Johnson in the number 12 machine, where he drove his Ford Mustang to victory after leading pretty much every single lap, and I believe lapping a good amount of the field, if not close to the entire field throughout, and being clearly the dominant car in that race. And obviously went on to win 2 straight races in the Bundren Lawn Care Series. He won at Darlington last season, and then inevitably won over at Las Vegas, where Parker White was included in one of those conversations at Las Vegas, where he had stayed out on the older set of tires, and then Hunter Johnson and everybody else on the fresh tires were able to get by in the final laps. And then Hunter Johnson scooped the victory. But Hunter Johnson, not in this league anymore, has not participated since one of the earlier events in season number 2. So Parker White has taken the reins over, and now he's looking to continue to lead more laps, as we have yet to cross over our halfway point. Actually, very far from our halfway point here from the Darlington Raceway in the virtual Darlington, South Carolina. Well, we'll have about 4 rows that'll be scooped up into 2 before you get to about single file, where everyone else has pitted a little bit later. That's why everyone is single file. But up here, it'll be the 95, 39. He'll lead them back to the green flag. Maybe not as early of a start for the 95. He'll check everyone up a little bit. He'll wait just a little bit longer, but now he get on the gas pedal. Aiden Kirker's very loose, but we're back under green as McKinney jumped up.
A lot of guys spitting tires there, one of which as Aiden Kirker got into that 87 of Blaze McKinney. And we got one around on the apron.
Mitch Hobbs in the 89, but he stays still. We stay green. The 39 up to the inside. Hard contact with Aiden Murray. Big crash down the back straightaway. Caution waves. Lap number 28. More cars involved. Mitch in there. William Schmidt getting tagged along. Murray with some payback to the 39. And a huge wreck involving a good amount of contenders here will put us under the green flag for the yellow flag for the 3rd time tonight. We'll take a look at where this started, and it started in this big gaggle of cars. I'd say it went all the way back to this main restart. Look at Aiden Kirker there, very loose on the opening start, just trying to get the tires gripped up. And you see McKinney and Aaron Tribble get by. Here's Aiden Murray looking to the inside as Mitch Hobbs got loose underneath the racing line. He seemed to be okay for the most part, but then right up to the outside wall. Kirker goes there, tries to get off. Right into Aiden Murray, and Murray with a gigantic hit. Going up back the track, there's Mitch Hobbs. William Schmidt getting a piece of it. Look at Preston Cope splicing through the middle. This is the biggest wreck we've seen all night as Murray tries to get contact. I guess very frustrated at the 39 for that one.
Yeah, as you see, I mentioned it just a bit earlier of just how tight turn 2 is. And you see Aiden just was going to cut down, but realized that he was going to make contact with the number 36 off of the corner. Tried to move up. Oh my, what a miss for the 4 of Jonathan T. Jones, but Aiden just kind of moved up, and he just kind of ran out of room on the outside and caught the outside wall.
Yeah, this is the same thing we saw with the likes of Preston Cope and Jonathan T. Jones, albeit at a different magnitude. Of course, this is the biggest wreck we've seen all night so far, practically the biggest wreck at about 4 to 5 cars, as opposed to what we saw there, which pretty much was 2 or maybe just 1, as there was once more the contact after the crash between the 72 and the 39. Unfortunately, looks like Aiden Murray's race is practically over. He's sit behind the wall. He's in the garage, even though his night is effectively over. As for Aiden Kirker, your points leader, that will be a big shakeup at a car. Very damaged, and guess who this helps at the end here, Charlie? Defending champion Blaze McKinney. 9 points behind going into tonight.
Yeah, we talked about Aiden being one of the most consistent drivers throughout the season, and being able to maintain that points lead was very, very impressive. Going up against the likes of Blaze McKinney and Parker White, so he's done a very good job, but this is really going to put it in the hands of Blaze McKinney now. And like we said, he's going to be 5 points ahead of him, as all the playoff drivers are separated by 5 points when we get to it.
Two questions. One by Kurt67. He asks, I tuned in late. How many tire sets tonight? There are none. There are unlimited tire sets, so there is no strategy regarding that as well. You can theoretically pit every single lap, and you can get 4 fresh Goodyear rubbers, and you'll be fine, set to go. There are no tire sets in this race specifically. And one by Alexander Schumacher. He asks, are ARCA brakes in full effect? Well, if you look at Mitch Hobbs in that first wreck, he didn't use any of the brakes, but at least in terms of the communication there, I'm not sure whether it was any ARCA braking per se in that wreck or in any of the wrecks mostly that we've seen. Just drivers getting into the wall, hitting into contact. That seems to be where a lot of drivers get in trouble, especially off turn 2. That seems to be one of the biggest trouble spots. Turn 3 and 4 had one, but turn 1 and 2 has had more. I believe they've already had 2 as well. Turn 4 has pretty much only had 1 incident, and that was obviously with the 17 of Cole Woody and William Schmidt in the 79. So we're getting to lap number 32 under this yellow flag. We should possibly see the 1 to green signal this time by, and indeed we do. Pace car lights are off, so White and Williams, who started in this race on the front row, they will be back to the front row, and they will lead the field once more to the green flag. I believe we have a single file restart this time according to the officials. So instead of the 2 wide that we're going to be seeing through the early portion of this race, we're going to be seeing the single file line. If a caution comes out within 5 laps or so after the restart, then this will be the rule indeed.
Bit of torn up race cars in the back right now. You see Mitch Hobbs driving around with a blown motor with no front clip on that number 89 machine. Tough break. Missed the first wreck, but unfortunately the second wreck kind of caught him there. Yeah. But he's determined. I give him credit for that. He's determined and keep it going.
Jonathan Jones, after that incident, he also has significant damage. However, he's still pushing through in this race. We'll try to get back to the green flag. Under single file conditions, pace cars made its hard left to the inside of pit road. It'll be White, Williams, McKinney, Tribble, and Miller. Your top 5 back under green. On lap number 33, Parker will step back on the lap pedal. Looks as though no cars are loose apart from some shuffling with Brady Wildman, but we're back under green from Darlington. Big early start by the 95 once again.
Yeah, Parker has really been mastering the starts so far this race and being able to pull out by just a few tenths even by turn number 2. Cole Williams settling into second. Aaron Tribble in that number 84 currently sitting 4th.
That pitch strategy put him up here, and he's been very competitive ever since, been holding on to his position. Here's a little bit of a battle, though, behind for about 6 on back. That was Nick Miller in 5th as he got a little loose off the exit of 4. He'll save it, though, but it'll close the gap between himself and Brody Garner. Shane DiMantovo also working with PJ Merrill and Glenn Bundren, who was sitting 16th. He's back up to the top 10, so good to see him in this run. Mostly single file at this point. So far, Parker still leading, not by much over William and McKinney.
Yeah, McKinney once again trying to make up what he lost, just 1 spot of where he was before that yellow flag came out. But if he is faster than Cole, which he's trending to be a little bit faster, but also Cole Williams is looking a little bit faster than Parker White as he's closed the gap by just a few hundredths of a second in the last few laps.
And we compare the last lap times between Williams and McKinney. For Williams, it was a 27.453. For McKinney, it was 6,000 slower, 27.459. While Parker White was 27.401. That was the fastest out of the 3. He still maintains the fastest out of the 3. And now Cole Williams will be the second fastest. McKinney just a couple of hundredths slower than the number 82. So they'll file out this top 3. But here's a battle, though, for 4th. Miller has caught up to the back of the number 84 Tribble, and now they're going to do battle when it's turn 3.
Nick will try to set up the pass if he feels confident enough. Right up on the bumper of that number 84 car. Let's look to the outside, maybe look to the inside in turn number 1 here to try to make it happen, but looks like he's just trying to wait for the right moment and getting that run.
Still just waiting. And a track like this, Charlie, the patience really is key compared to a lot of the other venues we see here in this season. Already some of the venues we've already seen when it comes down to the super speedways, to the short tracks, and even to some of the 1.5 milers that we've already taken a look at, and even the one we're going to next week at Chicagoland Speedway before we get up to the Bundren Lawn Care Series playoffs. At a track like this where it's so narrow, so tight, you really have to methodically make your passes, make your moves, because we've seen the exit of turn 2 be very dangerous. We've seen turn 3 and 4 be very dangerous. But here's a setup for Nick Miller. He's going to look for the 4th spot under the 84 into turn 3. He makes the pass.
And being respectful, let him by there, and backs up to the front bumper of Brody Garner as well. Maybe Brody Garner can make a pass into turn number 1 if he feels confident enough. But Nick Miller was very, very patient on the pass there. He made the pass when it was right, and it braid off.
So now here comes Garner, the inside off turn 2. Question will be, will it work? As there's a smoking Mitch Hobbs to the bottom. He said he was determined. He still is determined to get some laps on this racetrack, even with the beat-up race car. Though there is the pass for the 5th spot. Garner gets by. That could have opened the slot for Shane Mantova to possibly get that spot by. So Tribble slowly falling back in this opening run. If you're going to look back up front, it's almost a second between White and Williams, about 0.849 that last time by. Williams has yet to find a way to catch up, and McKinney has kind of fallen back to second place. He's now fallen a couple tenths.
And this is the point in the run where you're really trying to settle in and try to focus on your laps. And if you're in Cole Williams' position, try to find laps better than, or try to find a couple tenths on the racetrack to catch up to the leader. And this is almost like a mirror of what we saw in the Ice Car Charlotte Cup race last Saturday night. And Cole Williams was sitting in the second position, trailing behind the one of Omar Diallo, and was unable to catch up to him towards the end of that race.
Of course, Omar Diallo in the same position as Parker White at this point. Cole Williams was sitting in second. He kind of got those couple of tenths, and it looked like he was able to catch him. And then at the end, it was just too much for Cole Williams to really grasp at the end of that race, and he finished in second. He's currently looking at the same spot right now. They're all separated in this top 5. When I look at it further back, there was a driver all the way to the inside. That was Riley Marabello, who got very loose off of turn at number 2 and 3 and 4. He seems to be okay, albeit with some minimal damage to, I believe, the right side of the race car. Here's a battle, though, a little further up. That is Shane Mantova and PJ Merrill fighting for the 7th spot.
A lot of gaps increasing between the guys in the field, and Shane DiMantova just kind of struggling to find his place on the racetrack right now. He almost caught up to number 84 of Aaron Tribble, but has since fallen behind PJ Merrill in that last lap. So Shane, new member of Smith Motorsports, the former Coca-Cola iRacing Series driver Eric J. Smith, driving for him now, recently signed.
Yeah, very good news for him after he was previously on the Flying Arrows team, which currently sits with Blaze McKinney. As DiMantovo falls back a couple of tenths, maybe had some rough corners there past couple laps. And you see the throwback there to the number 20, sporting a Kyle Larson All-Star throwback from, I believe it was 2019, and his Advent Health machine. He also drove that one to victory lane at Charlotte in 2019. So very good throwback, at least not too far away, not too retro, but still is a throwback nonetheless to the driver who's returning to the NASCAR Cup Series in 2021. And obviously the driver right in front of him sporting a Miller Genuine Draft car, which we've seen recently from Brad Keselowski, and of course one of the retro schemes from Rusty Wallace driving the number 2 just a bunch of years ago back in the retro style NASCAR back in the 90s. As you see, Shane Mantova continues to fall back through this ladder. Got a question once again by Racing Spino 90. He asks, who was in the big one? I had to clean my kitchen. Well, in terms of the drivers involved in that big one, it was 4 cars. That's been the largest wreck tonight. It involved the 39 of Aiden Kirker, the number 36 of Aiden B. Murray. It involved the 79 of William Schmidt and the 89 of Mitch Hobbs. So those were the 4 drivers involved in that incident. Aiden Kirker currently sitting 16th. He's behind the garage. Aiden Murray's also behind the garage. And in terms of Mitch Hobbs, I believe he's still on the racetrack. And William Schmidt has already gone back behind the garage as well. So those drivers' nights are done. But if you're going to look back up to the front, there is a battle to be had. Williams finally caught up to the 95 of White. Here might be a save for the race lead on lap number 47.
Just a lap ago at this point, Cole Williams looked to the inside of Parker White, tried to make the pass in 1 and 2, but it was unfortunately had to back out and had to save his pass for later. But now 1 lap later, still maintaining that gap, trying to set up another pass. But while these guys are battling, that's allowing the 87 of Blaze McKinney to catch up to them.
And as you see these two possibly side by side, if they end up getting that way at some point, obviously McKinney can try to find his way to third. As you saw the 82 smacking a little bit loose off of turn number 4. He's still trying to make that pass complete, but he has yet to find that way to the inside. It's very hard in the corners, Charlie, to even make that pass, to even look at the inside. Here in turn 2, you have to keep that momentum. If you look a little bit to the bottom, you're definitely slowing down, and that's obviously not good at all if you want to be faster than the driver right in front of you. And 3 and 4, it's a little bit easier to get that momentum off the corner, but you're such an up to the wall to be the quickest that when you go to the inside, you're not as fast again. So most of the passing is done on the straightaways. Got a question by Francisco Bacallao, and he asked, what are the chances of 10 or less cars finishing on the lead lap? If you're looking right now at the telemetry, there are 12 on the lead lap right now, with Preston Cope 13th, sitting 4 laps down. And speaking of Preston Cope, there he is swerving down on the back straightaway. Not sure why he's doing that specifically, but I'd say in terms of 10 drivers or less being on the lead lap, I think if we get a very long run and if we get pitch strategy, I think the chances are very, very hard, Charlie.
Especially with the speed of Parker White and the speed in which he's going, and really the pace he has anywhere we go in leading so many laps. I think it's, it's definitely a possibility.
So they stay top 2 as we continue to move forward at lap number 51, and we're about, I'd say, 12 laps away from our halfway mark in the lap 60 to 65 range. That's where we're going to see our halfway point swoop in. Of course, still a long way to go to lap 125, yet we've had a lot of action, and it's felt like it's been already 100 laps so far here from Darlington. You look at the 82 right to the back bumper. He's going to try to make the move into 3. Still not enough. You're riding on board with him as he exits turn 4.
Once again, just trying to get a run, and it's so important in passing someone at a track like this to get a good exit and maintaining that gap and just getting a good exit and getting that run behind them to set up a pass. It's more important than ever, really any other racetrack on the circuit, because the corners are just so tight. You need to have that run in order to defend your position on the bottom or the top.
You look at on board, right in the gyro cam and right in the cockpit of the number 82 of Williams, and you can see, if you kind of take a look where the 82 is, you can see that little figure there. That's Kelly Oubre, a former player for the Phoenix Suns, now a player of the Golden State Warriors. Obviously, Cole Williams has been a very big fan of the Phoenix Suns and, of course, Kelly Oubre alike. So he sports Kelly Oubre on his car whatever he can. He's once had it as a full car. He's had it as a full scheme. If you tuned in to the LWC NASCAR Cup Series, he's also sported it in the Bunch of Lawn Care Series as well a handful of times. He always keeps that around his cars for the most part to show his support for Kelly Oubre, even though he's now on a different team at Golden State. And he's still looking and trying to pounce for that race lead, as McKinney is still about 1.3 seconds back behind these two. He's yet to really catch up despite them battling up front, despite the pressure that Williams has been putting on to the back of the number 95. Here's a battle for 10th spot. You saw Shani Mantova working for 7th. Now he's under pressure for the 10th spot in the top 10 as Brady Wallman gets by in the 51. And Brady Wallman is sporting a very interesting throwback. The Darrell Waltrip number 17 throwback, obviously sporting it on his Chevrolet Camaro for Next Level Racing. So a very, very good look, I think, with the colors of the team. And of course, just the tribute itself to a driver so legendary in NASCAR, and a driver who just recently retired from the NASCAR on Fox broadcast. As now we have a yellow at lap number 56. One driver seems to be slowed down the bottom. I believe I saw some smoke underneath the racing line, and that might have been Nick Miller in the number 9 machine who's fallen down the grid.
We'll take a look and see what the cause of that yellow was. That's Nick Miller trying to pass the lap car of Jonathan T. Jones and just squeezes him up into the wall.
We'll look at this once more. I think here, just not as good as the look. We'll look right here. You got in contact with Jones and then slid up into him. And then the 9, wow. You see him go right up into the outside wall. This is very odd here because Jones was the lap car. He was already 1 lap down, even with more damage than he had previously. Miller, I'm not sure whether there was no communication there, whether Miller thought he was going some sort of lane and then washes up the track into turn 3 trying to make that pass, and it was just not enough to clear him. He got sent up in the outside wall, has some rear damage as a result.
Oh my goodness. Cole Williams is He is stuck in the pit wall.
Yeah, he is stuck there to the inside wall. What just happened to Williams on the entrance of pit road? I think he might have gotten spun by Blaze McKinney as McKinney was trying to slow down. He made that cut to the inside. Actually, no. The 82 just tried to slow down, and then as a result, trying to rejoin back, and then, oh, just got clipped to the rear by the wall. And the driver who has been the most contentious of the race leader, the most dominant car all night, will most likely have to forfeit. As he's now down at pit road, he's going to spend a good amount of time down there. Parker White now out of pit road. Shane Mantova, who was the leader for about a lap, he's now down as well. Oh, that is a tough scenario. I thought it might have been contact there, Charlie, between, I think, Blaze McKinney, because he looked like he was coming in hot, just trying to catch up to the top two. But it was just that mini contact with the wall that sent him sliding into the inside barrier, and then he just got caught there.
There wasn't necessarily an issue with, you know, spinning the tires on pit entry. That really had nothing to do with it, as he could just go get fresh tires, which is what he was going to do. But that is just, oh my goodness, that's unbelievable.
That's bizarre. Rare of a mistake for a driver like Cole Williams. And it was just that little clip of in the wall there in the pit entry where it kind of has some sort of stalls, and then there's kind of a kink in the wall itself that gets back up, and if you hit it the wrong way or if you rejoin in the wrong fashion, it could kind of clip your car a little bit and send you either spinning, or it could kind of stick you there to the wall. You really have no choice. Cole Williams, though, I don't believe it's damage to end his night specifically, but him sitting in 12th, 2 laps down, this will certainly not help. As White will continue to lead, and pretty much one of the only drivers to contend against Parker White and how dominant he's been, will now have his back against the wall. And next time we go green, there are 3 lap cars there. Mitch Hobbs has stayed on the track along with Preston Cope, and the number 11 machine in the Toyota right up ahead. That is Dylan Basin, as he's starting to get his wave around. Lots of these drivers getting their wave around. Parker White will lead the field back to the green with McKinney to the outside. Tribble will be 3rd with Brody Garner sitting 4th. Riley Marabello 5th. Brady Weileman 6th. Glenn Bundren 7th. Shane Mantova 8th. PJ Merrill 9th. And Nick Miller in that recent incident, he's back up to the top 10. So we already have, just like Francisco predicted there, Charlie, 10 cars, maybe or less, on the lead lap on this next restart.
All right, well, yeah, you're looking at the field here. It's just 4 rows of 2 here. Very big reduction. You see a lot of those cars who pit on their second time around trying to catch up. There's Cole Williams looking like an ARCA car at Pocono. What the, how swung out that rear end is, but we're about to go green here.
About to go back under green. There's a very early start by Parker White. Going to do a dirt style all the way to the inside apron. We are back under green. You see Cole Williams sliding there to the inside. Does not matter. Here comes Brody Garner for second into turn 1.
Looking under the 87 of Blaze McKinney, he'll back out. And that kind of saves him from how tight turn number 2 is. But Aaron Tribble still, once again, fighting his position. He's probably one of the more breakout drivers tonight, you should say, as he's been inside the top 5 for quite a while, defending his position. Riley Marabelle with an incident early on in the 5th position.
DiMantovo loose off turn 4, but if you're talking about Aaron Tribble, you saw one of his breakout performances at Phoenix in the second race of the season when we had our doubleheader, along with Airborne Performance Racing, which at the time held Riley Marabello and Jonathan T. Jones. They both had a 4th and 5th place finish, while Aaron Tribble finished up in the top 10. He had a very strong night at the short track, and he's been having a relatively strong night here at Darlington. Not enough really to get up to the top 3, or at least contend with the race leaders. However, he has been pretty quick. Can't really ignore him in this top 5 at all.
There's Glenn Bundren right there, currently sitting outside of the top 5 once again. Currently 4th in points, so he has a bit of cushion going into these next 2 races before the iRacing Bundren Lawn Care Series playoff starts. So another good run for him, picking up a good foot of points. He's in the top 50% of the field, so that's definitely going to help his case.
The driver right behind. Remember these two who are sitting 6 and 7, Bundren and Miller, were two of the drivers in the championship for last season, along with Parker White and Blaze McKinney, who currently hold the first 2 spots on the racetrack. Obviously, it looks like all 4 of them will return to the playoffs this season with 2 races left. Obviously, McKinney, and we've discussed, he is sitting second. We'll just bring it up for reference. We're still under the green flag here on lap number 65. This was the points coming into this race before the green flag here. Andy Kirker was your points leader with McKinney 9 points behind, and surely with the incident that Aiden Kirker has had and the struggles that he's had tonight, McKinney will surely take it over next week at Chicagoland. Parker White sitting 3rd in points with his win at the Daytona Road Course, that being his only win, and so far looking at his 2nd win maybe tonight if he can hold on to it. He's sitting 3rd with Glenn Bundren. He's sitting currently 6th on the racetrack. He's 4th coming in tonight. He's tied though with Jonathan T. Jones and Cole Williams, although Glenn might have the beneficiary this time, as Williams and Jones respectively have had issues. Mantova, who's kind of struggled here tonight, could gain a good amount of points. Maybe could jump on Jones and Williams as well, with Miller possibly gaining some points as well. Weileman could also gain maybe 1 or 2 points perhaps. And then Riley Marabello, who's sitting in his spot. It's going to change a lot here, Charlie. I think Jones and Williams will have the biggest hit along with Kirker. I don't think Kirker will be too far off, though. He'll probably be at worst 2nd in point standings, but for the rest of those guys, and Jones and Williams, it'll be a very hard task to pull off over at Chicagoland to try to get back and maintain their position in order to prevent some of those issues that they've had tonight. A question over by Racing Spino 90. He asks, who do you think has fallen off a cliff this season? And obviously, speaking of falling off a cliff, it means obviously the drivers having strong performances early and then falling off so far at the halfway mark in our season of race number 8. Charlie, if you want to point out a driver you think has fallen off so far, which one do you have to pick out of the group so far, and who have we seen in races past?
Well, I think obviously Hunter Johnson did not make a few starts this season, or did not make as many starts this season as last season. Obviously, not making a single one. Also, another driver, Aaron Mulrooney, in that number 2 car. He raced a few races earlier in the season, but his participation dropped. But I can tell you this: if Aaron Mulrooney did run a full season, he would definitely be a threat for a bunch of race wins or possibly a championship. So I would have to probably say Aaron Mulrooney.
And Aaron Mulrooney already has 1 win in his Bundren Lawn Care Series career. That came last season under the lights at California in Auto Club Speedway. That was his only win in the Bundren Lawn Care Series. Had a shot at Phoenix. Of course, the very controversial contact between himself and Parker White, championship contender in Season 2 at Phoenix. Although Mulrooney was very strong, did not capture the win. I believe it was a top 5 for him with Nick Miller. So you're watching a battle for 4th right now, as you were watching the battle a little bit up for 2nd. It's kind of dwindled a little bit between the 87 of McKinney and the 55 of Brody Garner. The 87, McKinney running a very simple throwback, but if you know where it's from, you definitely know the meaning of it. Darrell Jr. in about 2015 when he ran his nationwide scheme, he had that scheme on the race car. It was kind of a blue at the top of the car, followed by a lighter blue in the middle, and then all the way white to the bottom of each side of the car. Obviously sporting one of the many memorable schemes that Dale Jr. has ran, apart from obviously the win at Daytona in the MLB All-Star Budweiser car, his regular Budweiser car. There's a lot of schemes you can name off from Dale Jr., just how legendary he's been, and of course how he continues to be legendary in iRacing Sim and being one of the executive people over at iRacing. So good news for him. And obviously behind him, the Danica Patrick throwback that we had mentioned earlier with Brody Garner. Aaron Tribble, though, sitting in 4th. He's running a Gatorade throwback. I believe this is back to Darrell Waltrip as well. Riley Marabello, not with a throwback, but a good comeback nonetheless. He's sitting top 5.
Yeah, probably the closest battle on the racetrack right now is for the 2nd position, which is Blaze McKinney and Brody Garner, and we're seeing once again this situation of the car behind just trying to set up a run, trying to get some good momentum. But yeah, that's probably one of the closest battles on the track. Lots of spreading out that happens at Darlington throughout the run, especially as the tires start to wear off, and we definitely see that throughout even last season's race when Hunter Johnson led a majority of the race, pure domination by that 12 car, won that race, and we're seeing another domination start to form here of Parker White out front.
Well, Charlie, there definitely is a conversation to be had, though, as we continue to move on through this race. If we don't have another timely yellow, that will be the pit strategy. We have yet to see it in this race, have yet to see any green flag runs suffice so far. However, if we do stay green, the drivers cannot make it from here on out, especially with the last time they pitted. It has been about 17, 18 laps since the leaders have pitted, and for a good chunk of the field, they have pitted around the same time. So now, at least as they go further into this run, I'd say about 45 to 50 laps could be the fuel window for these drivers. And yes, at some point, we'll probably expect to see them go down pit road, maybe with about 40 to 30 laps to go, I presume, at this stage of the race. And just like I mentioned it, Charlie, the separation is king here at Darlington, especially when the green flag run seeps in. With the amount of attrition we've had as well tonight, it's coupled in that factor. And now we just have drivers separated by more than a tenth, some cases more than a second, as White will lead 1.3 seconds over the rest of this field. As we reach the halfway mark of this race, we'll take a short break, but we'll be right back with more coverage of the iRacing Bundren Lawn Care Series, race number 8 for the Darlington Raceway in Darlington, South Carolina. Stay tuned, we've got more, and of course, maybe green flag pit stops coming next. Coverage of the iRacing Bundren Lawn Care Series right here on the KBueno Racing Network is brought to you by iRacing. Join thousands of sim racers across the globe over at iRacing.com. By EO Media Graphic Design. Get your graphic design done today. Just search up EO.media on Instagram. And by Supermix Concrete Blocks on Demand. Welcome back to coverage of the iRacing Bundren Lawn Care Series from the Darlington Raceway in Darlington, South Carolina. So far, your lead at the breakaway to the halfway point has been Parker White. Has been the dominant car all night long. Has led pretty much almost every lap apart from a handful under yellow. And he has not let go. Blaze McKinney second. Brody Garner seeps into third. That's been the order for a good chunk of this race. And has been the order ever since the last restart. And just a handful of laps ago, about 26 laps ago. Aaron Tribble in fourth, Riley Mirabello sitting in your top five. Of course, Charlie Baier and Kenneth Bueno with you along for the ride, and of course along for the rest of this season. Got a question by Alexander Schumacher. Before we continue our coverage, he asked, do you expect anyone to spin on a pit road during green flag pit stops? The answer will be yes, probably. We'll probably at least see one driver head over and probably spin it around on the entrance to pit road. And Charlie, you mentioned it, just how hard it is to get down. The banking difference is very tough. The speed difference will be very crucial, and at least maybe one driver will lock up the brakes, maybe get a little loose, but we could probably see somebody spin on the entrance of that one tonight.
Yeah, this pit road is probably ranking at one of the hardest pit roads to enter. It's a very, very blind corner, and you have to really aim without really seeing it and getting in. So definitely one of the more challenging ones. But speaking of pit stops, we are about 15 laps away from our green flag pit stops. That'll put us about around lap 100, lap 105, and that'll give us probably a 20-lap run to the finish of this. That is if we stay under the green flag condition that we are currently in right now. And it's been a pretty good green flag run so far. A lot of guys settling in, a lot of guys trying to save their tires, and Blaze McKinney, most importantly, trying to catch up to Parker White.
Still been the hunt for the 87 of Blaze McKinney to catch up to the race leader. Has yet to be successful. However, he is under a second, so that could be a good sign as we move on to the rest of this race. And as we already passed our halfway point, it's a pretty good time to go through the field right here on the KBueno Racing Network, starting with your race leader, the driver who's been dominant all night long. 85 laps led for Parker White at the 95. Former winner in this season at the Daytona Road Course, has yet to pick up an oval win, though. Fun fact, he's looking for that first one here tonight. Sporting that chrome Delta 95 machine, has looked beautiful under the lights, under the sunset as well. And he's been charging so far to get his second win in the series, his first at an oval here at Darlington.
Right behind him, Blaze McKinney and that number 87 sporting a Dale Jr. throwback with Cliff-Relay designs on hood for flying arrows. Currently second, started fifth, and has just moved up 3 positions, but has led no laps. Been very, very close to taking this race. Still has not led a lap so far. Last season's champion, hoping for another good run as we lean into these playoffs, hoping to have a lot of good momentum. Projected to take the points lead after this race, following the DNF of Aiden Kirker. But Blaze McKinney, number 87, holding strong right now in second.
The only other driver to win on a road course without winning on an oval is, of course, that 55 of Brody Garner, last season's winner at the Charlotte Roval. Has also yet to pick up an oval win, though has been very strong here tonight at Darlington. Did not lead any laps. He started 8th, but he's gained 5 spots to 3rd in that number 55. Danica Patrick, 2015 throwback, sporting the GoDaddy colors here under the lights at Darlington. So far has kept a very quiet race. Not really much to say apart from some position changes. Has put up some good battles that we've seen throughout this field. Now with about 34 laps to go, he's putting up a good shot and a good setup into the green flag runs that we'll possibly see.
Breakout driver of the night, Aaron Triple, in that number 84 car, running I believe that is a Darrell Waltrip throwback in that Gatorade car. Started 21st, currently sitting 4th, 17 positions changed, and he's definitely one of the breakout drivers here tonight, exceeding all expectations with that pit strategy, is maintaining a very, very good position inside that top 5 ahead of Riley Marabello. And I don't know about you, but I'm really excited to see a lot more from this kid, Aaron Triple. He performed really well at places like Phoenix, and is performing well really tonight. I think he's going to be one of the underdogs in this season.
Speaking of underdogs and drivers who have performed well at Phoenix, Riley Marabello falls right into that category. So far, the 92 started in 6th, has gained his spot up to 5th. However, he's pretty much maintained himself in the top 5 ever since. Had a little bit of damage from an earlier incident involving Cole Woody and William Schmidt. However, that damage really has not affected him too much as he's maintained his speed and he's been able to stay out of all the other trouble on the track to maintain where he is right now. So far, in a good spot when you were looking into the green flag pit stops. And Marabello, obviously one of the more consistent drivers we've seen all season, and obviously one of the better rookie drivers that we've seen in this Season 3 campaign. Driver who finished top 5 at Phoenix, finished in a very good position at Nashville a couple weeks back. He's looking for an even better run and another top 5 here tonight from Darlington.
Right behind him, Glenn Bundren, the last man himself, league owner, and number 37, Carl Edwards, throwback. Currently sitting in the 7th position, started 20th, and is currently having a very good points day right now, and is projected to maintain a top 5 or top 4 in the points with this top 6 run. And Glenn Bundren made it to the Final 4 last season. Unfortunately, finished last out of the 4 championship contenders, but definitely did not give up there. Led 1 lap so far tonight, and is hoping to have a good run throughout the playoffs. Just 2 races away till we lean into it. Glenn Bundren currently sitting 6th.
Another Darrell Waltrip throwback to look on to tonight. Brady Wildman in the 51 for Next Level Racing has currently been through the field a lot more than a lot of the other drivers. Started all the way back in 23rd at the beginning of tonight's coverage. He's now up to 6th on this long green flag run, especially through all the trouble a good amount of drivers have had tonight. So far has been running fairly well within the 29.9s, has fallen off significantly. Looks like he's going to go down pit road this time by, so he'll signal one of the first drivers to head down pit road on a green flag pit stop. I think Riley Marabello has also followed suit. So while we're going through the rest of the field, we'll just list them off for you as Parker White has already pitted. Nick Miller.
Parker White just hit the pit barrels.
Parker White with heavy damage. He just hit the pit barrels on the entrance of pit road. And he did. Spinning right there hard on the brakes. One person asked in the chat whether that was going to happen. And the 95, who was planted on the brake pedal, straight into the pit attenuator. Oh my goodness.
Unbelievable.
Can you say wild?
Man, you really have to feel for Parker White, man. He has struggled so much in this series, and it only got worse. Leading the most laps tonight, and it comes to a grinding halt in the pit barrels.
There's Brody Garner getting by. Seems as though he will assume most likely the race lead. Net P1. Bundren was pretty much one of the last ones to pit as he's almost spinning on the entrance. Luckily, no contact with the barrels, but maybe perhaps a speeding penalty to be assessed. Garner, though, will take over the race lead. McKinney still stuck on pit road.
Yeah, I bet McKinney's been stuck on pit road for a while. I wonder if that's the result of a speeding penalty.
Oh, my goodness. As we thought, we were going to be pretty relaxed into this pit road strategy. Things have changed in an instant, and now we have a new leader.
Wow, this race, with just over 25 laps to go, this race has completely flipped upside down, sideways, diagonal, any direction. It just happened right there. Only 5 cars left on the lead lap, and Blaze McKinney now just pulling out of the pit road beside his good friend Glenn Bundren. But now assuming back to your race lead is Brody Garner, I believe, but Glenn Bundren could pull out right in front of him. Oh, apologies. Glenn Bundren does have the race lead.
Glenn Bundren back to 5th on that exchange. He's now behind Nick Miller as Blaze McKinney. And Leaf has just got back on the lead now. Actually, he is listed a lap down along with Shaney Mantova. And, of course, Parker White, who found his way back to the racetrack. Oh, boy. The driver's so dominant. He could still survive for top 10, however. But this, considering the night he's had, that will not sit right with a 95 camp. Garner assumes the lead. Marabello on the stop will go to 2nd. Tribble to 3rd. Miller to 4th. Bundren, of course, who we saw got out of pit road to 5th. Brady Walliman in 6th. And Shaney Mantova 7th. Parker White 8th. And Blaze McKinney, who has a long way to catch up to him, will be 9th. Well, now there's 26 laps to go to the end of this race. Question by Racing Spino. He asked, new favorite to win. Well, we had 2 favorite wins, I believe, in Cole and Parker, but I believe now it should be in the hands of Brody Garner. What'd you say, Charlie?
This completely just fell into the lap of Brody Garner in that 55 car. A 14-second gap to the 92 of Riley Marabello. No cautions after that pit road fiasco. And is looking to just cruise around for 23 more laps to take his 2nd iRacing Bundren Line K Series win and 1st on an oval.
And it will be his 1st on the oval, just like I mentioned with Parker White, both of them being drivers who have won on a road course but have yet to capture a win or an illustrious win of the Bundren Lawn Care Series from an oval venue. For Garner, though, it has been multiple times along with Parker White. I think they both fall in the same category when you talk about that drivers who have won on road courses but not won on ovals, but have been very close to those wins on the ovals. For Garner, it has been such the same case, and most likely at Talladega, where you saw last season and this season short by a couple of inches, finished 2nd in both of those races, but has yet to really had any success on other ovals apart from obviously the Charlotte Oval, which we are still yet to get to. And that will be the opener in 2 races time, in 2 weeks, for the Bundren Lawn Care Series playoffs. Of course, he may be excited to see that track pack on the schedule, and of course in the playoffs with 55. He can try to snap another win there, the Bundren Lawn Care Series. Francisco has asked in the YouTube chat, he asked, with what's happened, all I had to do was exist and go 80%, and I'd get a top 5, top 10. Well, considering the attrition and the mistakes, I'd say probably yes.
Yes, definitely.
So we're now 21 laps out from the end of this event at Darlington. Again, cautions could still come out, so trouble could still happen on the racetrack, and we could have another very large change in order, and even a change in race leader / race winner. But so far, everything is shaken out. Garner, 15.6 seconds ahead of Riley Marabello. Here's a look at the top 5 and their gaps. On the bottom left of your screen, there's Garner, 15.9, almost 16 seconds to Marabello. Tribble is 16.1 seconds off. Actually, he's battling for second. He's going to take that spot to Marabello in turn 1, so Tribble to second. Miller will be in 4th, 21 seconds behind. And Bundren, about 27, I believe. He is close to falling under the lead lap so far.
Well, that's another good addition to his story of Aaron Tribble being the breakout driver tonight, up into the 2nd position, all the way from 21st, and is hoping to ride around just for 19 more laps to pick up his first top 3 of the series.
You saw him made that move down the front straightaway. Question is, will he have enough time, and will he be able to carve in that gap? Last time it was 15.9 seconds, now 16 flat. So it's been stayed relatively the same for Tribble. He just has a lot of work to do. It's a very long gap on our long green flag runs. That seems to be the biggest issue there, Charlie, where the lead changes hands. And especially, I mean, if we had a perfect green flag cycle, if you can imagine a perfect green flag cycle here at Darlington, which is very hard to imagine, regardless, it probably would have had Parker White by a good margin even over 2nd place, regardless of where they went down pit road and such like that. That probably would have been still a large gap regardless, but in this case, in such a special case, the gap is still very, very large and considerable. At least the good thing for Tribble, though, however, is that he will have some sort of time to get up here. He's already carved it down to 15.2, so maybe could be a sign of things to come for Tribble if he's able to get up to the race leader and possibly make a pass. Or if we have a yellow, could rack them all up again.
Definitely, and yellow is definitely something that Brody Garner does not want to see, as this race, obviously fell right into his lap, and it could all go in an instant. But Aaron Tribble has surprisingly maintained a 15-second gap, actually a decreasing 15-second gap. It might be a little too late, but he is running faster laps currently.
So now 14 laps out. Last time around for Garner was a 29 flat. For Tribble, it was a 28.8. So he is a little bit faster. He cut it down to 14.8 seconds last time by. So don't think we should keep our eyes off of Tribble just yet. Should probably continue to watch him, monitor whether that will change, whether the gap will continue to decrease, and whether Tribble will have enough time. If we stay green, that's obviously if we stay green. If a yellow comes out, that'll change things dramatically. Most likely, we'll see drivers go down pit road, drivers get some wave arounds, and of course, we may have an entirely different look of the race as we move forward. Got a question once again by Francisco. He asked, I guess I was more than right. 4 cars on the lead lap, and indeed he is right. Bundren already down 1 lap to Garner. Actually, no, Garner still not able to get by, so Bundren has maintained his position under the lead lap, albeit very slim though between them two.
I think I've been doing the math, and Aaron Tribble has to gain like about a second and an additional 10th or half a tenth in order to catch Brody Garner by the end of this. And it's not necessarily out of the window, as he gained an entire second that last lap. That way, that gap went from 14.9 to 13.9. We're gonna see how it cycles around this time.
Once he comes back to the line, it's about 14 flat on the entrance of turn 3 and 4. Maybe some lost time in this section of the track. He is off the corners, so that's where he gets his momentum. That's where he's been fastest. The last time around, it, I believe, grew a little bit. There it is, 14.078. So it's maintained relatively stable. I think 1 and 2 seems to be the better corners for Tribble. But 3 and 4 seem to be where Garner shines the best and where he's been able to gain that time all back. And now just 10 laps to go to conclude this race tonight.
I am still shocked at what went down between the two leaders there.
Well, certainly can't say that this race was not wild in perspective. Cole Williams, who was second, looked to charge on the dominant driver all night. Down pit road, got clipped to the inside wall barrier, and then went spinning into the wall, and he's effectively out of this race. And then Parker White, who had dominated this race entirely pretty much, went sliding into the pit road barrels, and the opening of that pit, or that green flag cycle. And now Brody Garner has a chance to become an oval winner in the Bundren Lawn Care Series. 9 laps to go, this time by for the number 55.
Yeah, Brody, based on observation, you know, in sim racing and leagues and in general, Brody Garner has probably been one of the biggest improvements on the oval side, or one of the biggest breakouts in the iRacing service, especially on that road side, being such a high I rating and being renowned as such a good driver, winning the Petit Le Mans race in an LMP1 car, the 10-hour race at Road Atlanta. So Brody Garner has been one of the biggest improvements on the oval side I've seen in the last months or a couple months or almost a year, and it's really been impressive on what he's been able to achieve.
The driver for Blue Chew America, honestly a very, very good road course driver, and we saw it. He proved it to everyone at the Bundren Lawn Care Series at the Roval, where he picked up his first win. That was where he was relatively strong, and of course going into the Roval this time in this season should probably expect no different if the 55 does show up to the race, which I presume he will. Who he was battling with Nick Miller last season, but he was able to get the upper hand. Should probably expect him to be just as good when we come back to the Roval. And then on the oval side, was very good on those super speedways. Had put himself in position to win at Daytona, in the 200 this season, at Talladega this season, at Talladega last season, and he's done it all on the oval side. But the win was still missing for him, and he had yet to have it. But tonight could be the night that it all changes as he gets around lap car Jonathan T. Jones and should be looking to get around Brady Weileman, who would be the next car on the lead lap. Now he's the first car 1 lap down, so now 5 cars sit under the lead lap. Last car on the lead lap will be Glenn Bundren in the 37. And Charlie, how about this point shakeup though? Marabello will surely gain a lot of points off of this. Blaze McKinney will also gain a good amount of points out of this. He'll be 9th, but he'll still have at least a good amount of positions to Aiden Kirker, who's in 17th. And maybe could decrease that gap. Cole Williams will lose a lot of points. Jonathan T. Jones will lose a good amount of points. Cole Woody, who was on the outside looking in, he will also lose a lot of points as well. Miller will gain on this one. So will Bundren, Marabello. I don't believe Tribble's in the championship conversation, so this won't necessarily be a big point state. This will just be a big breakout night. The number 84. And Weileman also could be gaining as well for the drivers in the top 10. 4 laps to go for Brody Garner. Three laps to go, this time by 3 more times around this 1.366 mile racetrack. Gap is now at about 13.1. Matter of fact, 12.5. But at this rate, as Charlie mentioned, probably won't be enough to catch up and to take away the race lead. At least with the unpredictability of this race, we'll probably could say that the 55 could have a big mistake and 84 could catch up. However, with 2 laps to go, it is looking awfully difficult for that to happen. Garner out of turn 2 for the second to last time.
Down the back straightaway, sporting that Danica Patrick number 55 car, and he ran this throwback for the Cup race in the Ice Car Cup Series They did not have their throwback race at Darlington. They actually had it at Chicago. Or sorry, not Chicago. Apologies for that. Charlotte, but he's going to come around and take the white flag. Brody Gardner in position to win his first oval race of his iRacing Bundren Lawn Care Series run. Aaron Tribble 13 seconds back, still gaining a bit of time, but unfortunately it's going to be a little bit too late in order to try and steal a win here tonight. Down the back ready for the final time. Brody Garner enters turn 3, looking for a win.
Garner, the winner of the Charlotte Oval, had that road course win, but had that missing oval win to go along with it. He'll have it here tonight off of turn number 4. Brody Garner will be a winner on an oval in the Bundren Lawn Care Series, finally, from Darlington. Aaron Tribble, 13.5 seconds behind, has just crossed the line for second in his best finish in the Bundren Lawn Care Series career for him. So 2 straight races we've had a driver get their best finish. Marabello will be at the top 3 in 3rd. Nick Miller will cross the line 4th. And league owner Glenn Bundren stays on the lead lap. He will be 5th at the stripe, as Garner burns it right down in front of the virtual fans. The track too tough to tame. Charlie, I really didn't think this race would go this way, but Garner had one of the more consistent cars. It's hard to say that Garner wasn't a threat at all, because he definitely had a shot to be one of those winners tonight, and he is one.
I mean, in a race that flips 180 degrees and even more, that's Brody Garner, an outstanding job in putting himself in a position for this to happen to him, and picks up his first oval win. It's congrats is where it's due for that number 55 car.
So Brody continues to celebrate and continues to burn the tires down under the lights from the track too tough to tame. But meanwhile, we'll take a look at your unofficial results from Darlington in race number 8 of season 3 of the Bundren Lawn Care Series. Brody Garner, as aforementioned, now a first-time oval winner after his first win at the Charlotte Oval. His first oval win comes here at Darlington. Aaron Tribble, with his best finish in his career in this series, will finish second, 13.4 seconds behind. Did not have enough time to catch up to the race leader under that green flag stint. Riley Marabello in the number 92 will capture the last step of the podium in 3rd, with Nick Miller in the number 9 machine. Good points day for him compared with the struggles of the others. He'll finish 4th tonight, with Glenn Bundren, league owner himself, right behind in 5th, and then starts the train of cars one lap down. Brady Weileman will finish 6th. Shane Mantova in the 20 Kyle Larson throwback will finish 7th, with Parker White hitting the pit road barrels, will survive for a top 10 and 8th, with Blaze McKinney, defending champion, finishing 9th, and Jonathan T. Jones, 5 laps down, survives an early wreck to capture top 10.
Right outside the top 10, that is Cole Woody in that number 17 car. Cole Woody in that 17 car, 30 laps down on the racetrack. Preston Cope with another early exit, 35 laps down. Cole Woody actually 30 laps down. Preston Cope in the 12th position. Mitch Hobbs in the 13th position got DQ'd by that 17 of Cole Woody. Another early exit, 41 laps down. PJ Merrill in the 061, 14th position. Dylan Basin 15th, Aiden Kirker 16th. One of the more disappointing exits here, as he was running in the top 5 before he unfortunately got caught up in an incident. Aiden B. Murray 17th, William Schmidt 18th, Lathan Joyner 19th, and Peter Kenny will round out your top 20.
These are the final 3 drivers on the grid. Mason Thompson in the 054. Tough night for him early on. He finishes 21st. Cole Williams, heartbreak for the number 82. Was so dominant. Was in second at the highest point of this race. Had a shot at the race lead and a contact with the pit road wall in the entrance of pit road. He finishes 22nd. Joe Berge, I believe, did not really start this race. He'll be out in 23rd. Finalizing your grid here from the Darlington Raceway. When we come back, we'll have our KBRN post-race coverage brought to you by SDC. We'll have interviews with the top 3 trackside and more as we continue to move forward in this championship and as we inch ever so closely to the iRacing Bundren Lawn Care Series playoffs. Don't go anywhere. We've got more coverage right here on the KBueno Racing Network coming next. Welcome back to the Darlington Raceway, where we kick off our KBRN post-race coverage, brought to you by SDC. 120 laps, 25 laps went by from the track Too Tough to Tame, and it was unpredictable at its finest for the Bundren Lawn Care Series, race number 8 in Season 3, with just 2 races left until the start of the Bundren Lawn Care Series playoffs. Well, Charlie, it was definitely one of the wildest races that we've seen in this season in terms of just how things changed so dramatically, with the leaders having trouble, with a lot of strong drivers having trouble, and overall having a new race winner in Brody Garner, taking his first win of the Bundren Lawn Care Series on an oval as opposed to a road course. We'll take him in from the victory lane circle. And Brody, I think this win was finally long overdue. You had yet to pick up a win at an oval in this series. You had won at the Charlotte Roval, and now you capture one here at Darlington in very wild fashion with everything that happened in that final pitch strategy. Walk us through that final stint, and especially your reaction after hearing that everything went haywire with pretty much the top 2 leaders.
I came into pit road, had practiced the pit road entry, so I knew what I was doing. Pretty flawless. But yeah, then I saw Parker at the end of the pit road, and I knew something happened because he pitted later than me. And then it got confirmed over the radio. And yeah, at that point, I pretty much knew I was going to inherit the lead because Blaze had yet to pit, and the tire fall off is so extreme here. I think I would have made up that second anyway. But yeah, I was excited after that, and then the icing on the cake was just Blaze's penalty, I guess. So I was just able to chill out and run my own race at the end.
Definitely all clear for you up ahead. It was about a 15-second gap to second place Aaron Tribble for pretty much a good chunk of that final green flag stint. But just get us through most of this race throughout. I know that you're not necessarily running for the playoffs. You're a little bit further back in the grid, at least in that point. But just give us your thoughts on a win on an oval, because I know that you had a shot at oval wins multiple times. I know that Daytona and Talladega surely comes to mind, especially after last week. And you get that redemption here at one of the toughest tracks to really get mastered of. And just give us your emotions on that, and to have that chip off your shoulder now that you finally have an oval win and a road course win in both disciplines.
It feels good. There's a lot of drivers that are good at only one series or only one discipline, so it feels good to be pretty okay at both. Yeah, this whole race was pretty much impossible to pass. It's one-lined around the top, and then the dirty air came into play. Once you got within like half a second, you just could not get to their back bumper. It got so tight. So yeah, whoever pretty much had the lead on a restart was going to lead most of it, so I got the lucky break and ended up coming out with it.
Certainly a hard-earned victory for you in the 55 at the end of the night here from the Darlington Raceway. Before we let you go, I know there's a lot of people you got to thank, so who are those people, any team sponsors or anyone else who decided to give the love and shout-outs to for tonight's victory?
Thank you to Proximity Racing. Thanks to Blue Chew Americas, Chew It and Do It, and thanks to Glenn Bundren for running the league.
Well, Brody, our congratulations go out to you in your first win on an oval in the Bundren Lawn Care Series, and of course, we thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us. Congratulations once again, and we look forward to seeing you over at Chicago. And of course, I know that Charlotte Roval might be one to mark on the schedule for you, and we'll be sure to look for you out there on the racetrack. And we wish you the best of luck now the rest of the season. Congratulations.
Thank you, Kenneth.
That's Brody Garner, your race winner from the Darlington Raceway in race number 8. We'll look back to second, where a feel-good story pops up here in second place. Aaron Tribble in the number 84 will get his best finish in the Bundren Lawn Care Series career for him. He's standing trackside with our own Charlie Baier.
Aiden Tribble into the booth. You got a copy?
Yes, I do.
Well, Aaron, with a pretty hectic fashion, you were able to pick up your first top 2 finish of the iRacing Bundren Lawn Care Series, and a pretty hectic race all around with that 750 horsepower in that engine. Just talk about just trying to find that line throughout the race and really trying to maintain that position.
Yeah, it was definitely a very interesting race when trying to find the line because I didn't come in with any practice at the track. I did run a few laps when the new build came out just to try it, but other than that, so I just decided to start at the back and let the race, the track and whatnot come to me, and then in the end, I really found a good way to get a decent exit through 1 and 2, and then 3 and 4. I still really couldn't get 3 and 4 down completely. Definitely could have done better trying to get a better run off the corner, but other than that, I'd say pretty solid.
All right, Aaron. Well, probably the biggest feel-good story of tonight and the biggest breakout story. But this top 2 run for you puts you 20 points behind on the cutoff as we go into our cutoff race approaching in the next week. So only 20 points out. Theoretically, you're mathematically eligible to break your way into the playoffs. So what's the strategy coming into next week, and do you think you can possibly pull it off?
Go win the race, and hope the chips fall where they need to. It's really all we can do.
Alrighty, Aaron. Well, thank you so much for coming out here and racing with us tonight. Obviously, a very, very good points day for you and a good finish for your iRacing Bundren Lawn Care Series resume. But before we let you go, and we'll see you next week, do you have any teams or any sponsors that you'd like to thank for making tonight's run possible?
I want to thank 501 Racing for giving me this opportunity, and you guys for coming out here and broadcasting all these races.
All right, Aaron. We'll see you next week, man. Good luck.
You too.
Me too.
Well, that was Aaron Dribble, your second place finisher here from Darlington. Surely a good story for him and his best finish in the career ever in this series. We'll finally get back to the driver who finishes on the last step of the podium, Riley Marabello. Not the first time we've talked to him this season, but surely is good to talk to him once again down on pit road. And Riley, we talked to you in the first time this season over at the desert on the other side of the country at Phoenix Raceway, where you captured your first top 5 in this season. And you come back with another top 5. You come back with another strong finish, and actually a top 3 at Darlington. Give us your thoughts on your finish tonight and what this could mean for you moving forward now that you've got a shot in the point standings.
Well, Kenneth, I'm not entirely sure. First of all, I was not expecting to finish this well at Darlington. It's not one of my best tracks. I guess we just got lucky with Rex there, and I think right before the green flag pit stops, after all the cautions, I found a rhythm. I was able to just drive the car at my own pace, made the pit stop, and came out second. And then I got passed by Aaron and finished third because I burned up my tires. But overall, a really good race. I do feel terrible for killing Cole Woody, though, while trying to save the car in the early portions of the race. So I apologize to him. Yeah, that's basically it.
Well, walk us through that eye-opening moment, I believe, for all of us when we had found out what happened in that green flag pit cycle where Parker White, who had dominated this race, had hit the pit road attenuators, and all of a sudden the race was flipped on its head. Brody Garner was, for once, net P1, but you were over at net P2. What was kind of the mindset there from there on out to the end of that race, considering that the most dominant driver of the race had already been out of it, and pretty much any other driver who was at high contention either had trouble or had a penalty, much like Blaze McKinney?
Well, my mindset there was kind of just buckle down and finish as best as you can. I figured I was going to get a top 5 out of it because Parker had hit the pit road barrels and there weren't many cars on the lead lap. So I just did the pit stop, got in the right mindset, drove the car to a third place finish.
Certainly a hard on third place finish for you at the end here, Riley. But before we let you go, I know there's a lot of people you got to thank for tonight's effort, and of course so far your season's effort. I believe it's your first full-time effort of the Bundren Lawn Care Series. Which people do you got to thank for all the success so far you've had?
Well, I have to thank everyone over at Eel Media Racing. I am very grateful to be a part of that team, all my teammates, Aiden and Cole. I also thank Wyatt Dueling, Snowman Studios, for making my paint schemes and giving me cars to run each week. Yeah, I really can't say much more. I'm just extremely overjoyed that I got this third place finish. Once again, thank you to all those people I just mentioned before.
Well, Riley, congratulations on your third place finish here tonight from Darlington. We look forward to seeing what you can do for the rest of the season, and now that you've put yourself in position to be a part of the Bundren Lawn Care Series playoffs come to the Charlotte Roval. Thank you.
You're welcome, Kenneth.
That was Riley Marabello, your third place finisher here from Darlington. That'll cap off our interviews here in the 8th race of the Bundren Lawn Care Series in Season 3. Charlie, a lot to recap after a very unpredictable race, and so far a lot to talk about in terms of the point standings, and we'll have that for you in just a little bit once they update in the right way. But Charlie, lots of implications, I'd say, for the playoffs coming to Chicago, and really what's going to be the key there for Chicago next week, because once we get over to next week, that'll be the last chance for anyone to get into the playoffs, any new faces to find their way in, and of course, in terms of the order itself, that'll also change how the playoffs really react in the same way as well.
Well, we saw what can happen last season at Chicagoland, and we saw what goes into racing for, or I should say, pulling out a good finish, what it matters, basically. And, you know, if you remember what happened last season, Hunter O. Johnson led a majority of that race, but with that late race caution, Blaze McKinney came down, took a fresh set of 4 Goodyear tires, and was able to blow by him on the final corner. So we know what it's like to race for a win there and snatching a win away and getting those points when you really need them.
And those points will be crucial, of course, when it comes down to where these Bundren Lawn Care Series playoffs will file out. Of course, we will get to the point standings and where they will sit after tonight's race, and here they will show right at the front of your screen. Aiden Kirker will still be your points leader, albeit by just a single point over driver Blaze McKinney. This race certainly did change the way that these drivers were in relation to the point standings. McKinney now just 1 point needed to get back to the top of the board in terms of the points and the championship. Parker White did cut the lead by a good margin, but he is 40 points behind in third. He does not change position. Glenn Bundren, though, stays in fourth, and he'll be 42 points behind, so a good amount of points right there to Parker White, only 2 separating those two. And then a tie for fifth. Shaney Mantova and Nick Miller, 47 points behind. Jonathan Jones will be 7th, 48 points behind. Brady Wallerman will be 8th with 53 points. But to the negative, with Cole Williams losing 5 spots after this race. He will be 60 points behind. Riley Marabello stays in the top 10, though, but he is minus 77 off of the points leader. So we will wrap things up here from the Darlington Raceway. Congratulations once more to Brody Garner, first-time winner on an oval in the Bundren Lawn Care Series, and we look forward to seeing what will happen at Chicagoland next week. So for all of us at the Bundren Lawn Care Series, for Glenn Bundren, Shaney Mantovo, Blaze McKinney, and all the admins that make things happen for the Bundren Lawn Care Series every week, and from all of us at the KBueno Racing Network, for Francisco Bacquiao and my colleague in the booth, Charlie Baier, my name is Kenneth Bueno, saying good night from the Lady in Black. We turn to the Windy City, where the playoffs will continue to get tighter.